that we are going to generate is a behavior, and where actually the behavior will be lying. So it will be mainly on my R views. So what all R views I do have? So R view, you do have travel and booking. Okay, so you do have a travel view, you do have a booking view. So the question would be, where should I create the behavior? Should I create the behavior at the travel layer or booking layer? So the answer is, you will always be able to create the behavior only at the root view layer. You cannot create a behavior at the booking layer. You will be able to create the behavior at the travel layer only. It needs a root view for the behaviors to be there. Okay, so this is my root view. So if I just, I guess earlier there used to be a option. Let's see if it provides. I'll just right click over here. If not, maybe we'll just go and create a new one as well. That's also possible. Let's see if it directly gives us an new option. Yeah, here as you can see, you are getting an option called new behavior definition. So this is something that we are interested in. I'll just simply say new behavior definition. Now, as you can see, system is coming up with the same package we created because it picked it from here. It just recognizes a root view entity. What does it mean? That it needs the root view entity. Even if you're going at the booking, you won't be able to generate the behavior. You have to always generate the behavior for the root view entity. Each root view will also have its own behavior for the composition it is having. So for example, my travel is having a composition called booking. So for the booking as well, a behavior will be generated as a part of the same behavior file. The same file will contain that particular information. Here we do have two options, manage and unmanage. We'll start with the manage one first. Okay, I'll just go next. Okay, and then you are going to say finish. Okay, so this is how it will be looking alike. So as you can see, there are a couple of things. It says define behavior for your root view, and you will also get any of the, as I mentioned, any of the composition it is having. So for example, if you would have specified n number of association over here, no, it's not possible to create create a behavior for an association. For you to have any sort of transactional behavior, it should be a composition. Even if it's a one, for example, for one booking, I want contact detail that there can only be one contact person, but I want to manage it. I want to save the data for it. Then it can be a composition. It cannot be a association over here. Okay. So same way over here, the moment you specify any composition at the view layer, the same will have its own set of behaviors. Here, as you can see, I do have defined behavior for this. I do have defined behavior for booking as well. I do have behaviors for both of them. From the view layer, it automatically derives the tables. The tables it derives are from the layering. So system detected that, yeah, you do have a view and which is having a table inside it. So I think this is just a proposal. Okay, this is just a proposal that this is a table that I feel you want to save the data. If you are willing to deviate from it, you can also do that. That's also possible. Okay. So these are one thing. There is a very first and foremost thing over here called behavior definition. This is still not the projection. This is just a definition. And what does it mean? It's like a view definition. Whatever you define over here does not necessarily start appearing at your service layer, at your application layer. Instead, the moment you project it in the C view, right, then only it starts appearing. Same goes over here. So this is a behavior definition. Anything you define over here does not necessarily be part of your application. Only if you create and expose it to the projection, you will be able to use it going forward. Okay, so let's just first furnish the, I can say, behavior definition, then we'll go in the projection mode. Okay, so this is how it is looking alike. So now let's just go one by one. And let's just say, let's just try to observe the errors that it is having. Okay, so here, as you can see, I am having a couple of warnings that the class does not exist. Then the travel ID is part of the entity, but there is no field called travel ID. Okay, so as you can see, what the system is trying to say is that you are saying that please map all the fields to this DMO travel, right? You are saying please map all, whenever I'm saying manage, it means whenever I'm getting a backend call, please directly place the value into the table. I don't want to be mediator. So, but there is a field called travel ID, correct? But if I just go over here in the view layer, then there is something called travel ID, which is T and I capital. There is no underscore. Does this two field means the same or not? That's something that you should be specify, or you have to specify that no, I don't care of that field. I don't know what that field is. That's not the same field. So it says that field travel ID is part of the entity, but it's not part of the table that you specified, which should persist the data. Then either you should be providing a mapping or you have to mark that field as a read only, because I don't know where to store the information. Okay. So here what you have to do is you have to provide some sort of a mapping. Okay, and how you would be able to provide the mapping, that's also one of the key aspects while you are defining any sort of such information. Okay, so what you will do is I'll just show you. Here you would specify something called mapping for, and in this particular one, you will specify the any sort of tables or any include. For example, in many a time, your table might have some includes as well. Your EKKO table might have MEPO views, MEPO structure, sorry. So those structures can also be part of the mapping. All you have to do is you have to provide the mapping that which data should be mapped to which field. Okay, so I'll just map over here, and here you will specify it like this. Then you have to do the mapping individually. So you will get some value help, but it's your responsibility to provide the mapping for each and every field. For example, if I'm just saying travel ID, then the travel ID, okay, over here, which is a property of a view, okay, should be mapped to what? So I'll just say it should be mapped to my travel ID, which is a table field. And there should be a semicolon. So the moment you do this, as you can see, you are done with this error, because at minimum, it needs the key field. Rest, all the fields are also required, but at minimum, it needs the key field. Rest, all the fields, even if you're passing the information, the mapping is not, the system won't persist the value. But at minimum, the minimum fields that system needs is the key fields. Okay, that is why the mapping is there. Okay, rest everything we'll also discuss what it is. So we'll go one by one, but first let's just get rid of the warnings that we do have. Okay, I'll just say mapping, or over here we'll specify this. And here we'll specify a couple of things. So here we'll again specify that the travel ID you do have is nothing but this particular travel ID over here. And the booking ID that you do have over here is this particular booking ID I do have over here. Okay, but we are required to provide the mapping for each and every of them. Otherwise, the manage behavior. Otherwise, if someone is specifying booking date, then it won't be persisted for sure, because it does not have a mapping. The data would be gone. Okay. Now, another thing over here is that we can provide alias like ZREO travel, but what should I call it as? Should I call it by technical name? No, you can use an alias. So where this alias will be used, it will be used in the EML statement. I can say the entity manipulation language. Whenever you are required to write some sort of a business logic by reading the data, by updating it, by deleting it, by doing anything. Okay, at that point in time, rather than using the name, you can go by the alias. So here I'll just say the alias for this is travel, for example, and the alias for this will be my booking. Okay. Now, okay, so again, as you can see, I am just left with one warning which says that this particular travel does not have a class. Okay, but as you can see, even if I click over here, okay, it just gave me one suggestion that you can create a behavior implementation class. So whenever I mentioned, as I mentioned, I okay, I'll just go over here. Yeah. So whenever you are going with a manage aspect, the standard CRUD operation is something that the standard SAP will take care of. But whenever there is a business logic which is specific to your business, right? At that point in time, we need some place where we can write our own set of logic, and that's where the behavior implementation class will come into picture. That's this. Now we do have two options. Okay, in case of behavior implementation, we do have two nice options. Either you can provide the implementation class at the top layer. That's also possible. Or if you want, you can also provide the business implementation class somewhere over here as well. If you see implementation in class, so there are two chances. Okay, either you can provide a class which is going to take care of each and every implementation you do at the root layer. So for your travel relevant operations, for your booking relevant operation, you will be able to write the logic in the central. That's a right design. That's how you should be doing it. Because there can be some parent-child relationship which needs to be considered before writing your logic. At that point in time, it makes sense if you have a central class. But if you want a separate class as well, you can also define a separate class over here. So I'll just go with the best case scenario. I'll just go over here and I'll just simply say that no, I want this particular travel to have a common class, which is this particular central class. So I'll just go over here. I'll just click on this and I'll just say create implementation class. Okay. Now, to create a behavior, you have to first activate the behavior. To create a behavior implementation class, you have to first activate the behavior definition. I'll just activate this. So it's like service definition binding. For you to publish, you have to activate the service binding first. Okay, now it's activated. So now if you just go and click on this, you will get that create behavior implementation. It will generate a class. Okay, and it will say behavior implementation for this. The name of it will always be again. So if you see, you have couple of things which are of the same name. There is a view entity, root view entity whose name is this. There is a behavior definition whose name is also the same. And there will be a behavior implementation class with the same name. So this name will follow for each and every object you are going to create. I'll just go next. Okay, and then you are going to say finish. Okay, so the system generated certain things. So I'll just activate this. So here you can activate whole class. I'll just activate this class as well. Okay, now if I just go over here, simply, I'll just go and do a syntax check. I won't have any warning. Okay, now let's just go through each and every component. Okay, so what we did is we just generated a behavior. So as you can see here, you will see one more component as a part of CDS, which says behavior definition. And then there should be some source code, which is nothing but a class, which is again having the class for this behavior. At behavior level, you will see each and everything which is having a root or the composition. So there is a root, there is a composition. For each and every of them, you will need a behavior. Now, as a part of which you have to specify the alias, you have to specify where the data will be stored, and you have to specify where the lock will be put. So for example, if I'm saying a person is creating a travel, or let's just go in another direction. Let's just say there is a travel and some person is going to edit that particular travel information. Okay. But for example, if I am editing, another person should not be able to edit. Okay. So when I say lock, it should be put at the parent layer, because for example, I'm not doing any change in the travel header layer, but instead I'm going to do some change at my booking information layer. I'm going to change my booking date. Okay. Or I'm going to put some discount code, anything I can do. Okay. So at that point in time as well, the lock should be put at the parent layer. So even if in any of the child entity, someone is doing some change, my whole travel should be locked. And that's the meaning of a lock master. And as you can see in the child, you do have an option of lock dependent by. Here you can also specify separate locks, but the SAP's best design says that always put a lock on the child, on the parent, or I can say on the root. Always put a lock on the root. Okay. Then there is something called authorization. So authorization is something that will come into picture, I guess, after some time that we'll see. But many a time, what happens is many a people would have an authorization. Many a time you would see that your application would have a create, update, multiple scenarios or copy functionality or triggering some sort of a approval cycle and multiple things. But not all the people will have the capability to do that. Okay, so what all functionality that person should be able to see, that is being defined by the authorization. Okay, so authorization master ideally takes care of which all features should be allowed, okay, to which particular set of people. That's something that you should be defining over here. Now, in case of a locking as well, you will see that there is something called etag. Okay, so when I say etag is nothing but again one of the locking scenario. Ideally, wrap goes with a locking mechanism where I mean we'll have a dedicated session on locking, I guess, after some time. But when I say locking, okay, then there should be some way with the help of which we can apply the lock. So you would have seen whoever I guess has worked on the REST API earlier would be knowing how locking works in a SAP GUI system and how the locking works in the SAP REST API. Okay, I can say locking mechanism. So how the locking mechanism works. So when I say locking mechanism, you would see that, for example, let's just take a scenario of SAP GUI. Okay. For example, there is a PO and you are trying to edit it. Then at the table layer, there will be some enqueue function which will put a lock on your particular tables, that particular record. So no one other than that person will be able to edit it till the time that person does not save it. Okay, it means that is something called a pessimistic lock. That someone would spoil the data if someone else is doing some sort of a change. That's why we are locking it via the enqueue functions. But when it comes to a browser-based technology or a REST API, right? You would be knowing when I say enqueue function or dequeue function, right, which is responsible for locking or unlocking, till when it is valid. Till the time you are in the particular SAP session, right? So enqueue or dequeue, or I can say locking is valid only during SAP session, right? Now, as you know, REST API is a stateless API. What does it mean? That it does not remember the state. Once you requested the data in the edit mode, it provided you the data and it's gone. I guess system does not know, okay, um, what was the person, or I can say who is the person who actually requested for the data in edit mode, and should I put the log, whether the log is persisted? No, the REST API does not allow you to do that. So earlier, as you can see, the locking was being done on the server side. Server who is serving the client. Okay, server side. These days, the locking is done in the clients on client side. So in case of a REST API, locking will be done on client side. So what would happen is the moment someone requests the data, there will be something which is very unique. For example, a travel information. Then when that particular travel information, or I can say what is the latest record. So for example, if I just say travel one, that was created on for example, 11th of Feb 2023 at 9:50 a.m. 9:50 a.m. 23 second. Okay, this is when it was created. And when it was last changed, for example, let's just say it was last changed on the same time. Okay, now if someone requests the data, for example, there are two users who are going simultaneously over here. There is one user Okay, and there is another user who is also requesting the same sort of data. At the same point in time, they are requesting the information. Both of them will get the data. But along with the data, what the system will also pass is this particular change on information. Not necessarily change on, but something that you point. Okay, that this is going to be unique for each and every user. I am going to change it each and every time my user does some change. That's a field that can behave as a e tag. That you are tagging that particular field responsible to ensure that whether it's a most recent data or that's a old data. Okay, so for example, along with the data he requested that give me the travel ID, give me the let's just say agent name, and likewise along with that one thing will be piled up along with it is the e tag field. So for example, you can decide in any of the field. For example, I am making this change on as a e tag, that my change on is a e tag. So along with this information will also be flowing. So you will see that this person is getting this information. Okay. And now another person is also requesting the same information at the same time. So this person will also get the same information. Now, by the time this person does anything and just click on a save button, okay, this person does that. And after doing this, this information is now being saved as the current record on database is now having 952, that it was last change on 952. Okay, so if any point in time this person also tries to save the information, while saving, each and every person has to say, also revert back with the e tag they are having, with the change on information they are having, that which particular when they had read a particular record. So he'll say that I have a copy which was read on 950. Then the system will verify, no, but the recent information which is there into the database before you update anything is 952. It means you are trying to update a old record. That's why the update record cannot be processed. So that's why the information which this person updated will be persisted. Otherwise, what would happen is if this information is not validated, system might override whatever this guy has done with the request which this person is sending. That's where the e tag is coming into picture, and that's where if you see there is something called e tag. That e tag should allow you locking. So there are e tag of multiple kind: e tag master and e tag dependent. So here I also, as we understood the locking, e tag is also the same. It's also there for the same purpose. So we'll say that e tag will be over here, and the purpose will be that this particular person should also adhere to the last change by information. So you will be having the e tag over here, and my child also should follow the same, but the e tag will be of that of the parent, that any of the travel information, be it a travel or a booking, anything is getting changed. Anyway, header information will also get the timestamp. So if header record is also changed, then also booking information cannot get changed. So that is the meaning of this. So I'll just go over here, and here there is something called e tag, and there is something called dependent by. Dependent, and I'll just say by, and here you can specify the name of association. So for example, dependent by travel. So as you can see, log dependent by, same way e tag dependent by. Okay, I'll just do a syntax check. I guess it's saving the information. Okay, what is the issue? The dependent entity can't have identical name field. Okay. Okay, I guess we have two fields with the same name, and that's the reason that it's not allowing us doing this particular activity over here. So maybe what ensure that the field, there are two options. Okay, either you can change the field name at the booking layer, or you can specify the field name directly over here, because the field name in both the cases are same, and that's the reason that there is a restriction. So here the same field is there. That's what the system is recognizing. So I'll just say e tag master over here. I'll just activate this. So this is providing the locking. Okay, now comes the portion which is there in the curly bracket. So now, as you can see, the parent is having a create functionality, update functionality, and delete functionality. That's not hard and fast. If you want that your parent should not be able to update it, you can remove any of this. Okay. then you are having that your booking should be created only using the book travel. No one should be able to directly create the booking. So that's why if you see, because that's a composition, right? Now, what does a composition say? That a child cannot exist without a parent. Exactly. So if that's the case, then I should not be able to allow, I should not be allowing a direct post call on my booking. Instead, it should be only navigated via the travel and the association of it. Okay, and that's why you will see that association of booking is allowing the booking creation, but direct node of the booking is not having any create capability. Okay, so that's what you should be specifying. Second, your for your child node, the travel ID is a read only, because that's the same thing that you are passing, or I can say that you are creating over here will be passed on to this particular travel ID. No new information will be populated over here, because if you are changing this information over here, then parent-child relationship will be gone, because you are saying that they are T2 are related using the travel ID. Okay, and if that's the case, then the relationship will be gone. If you change this, that's why you can have multiple information that you can specify. Okay, so likewise, you can also specify certain things. So for example, let's just say for my travel to work, okay, what all things are necessary. So for example, here I am simply saying that for me to have a travel, I'll just open the travel view over here, the R view. For me to have the travel, I want that the travel ID should be generated. My customer ID is mandatory, and begin date and end date are these something that should be there. Without this, I cannot proceed. Okay, so if that's the case, then what you can do is you can simply say that I want a list of fields. So ideally, you would see that the positioning does not have a much significance in the curly bracket. Yeah, positioning has some significance while it comes to this. Lock master should become before the e tag. I cannot put e tag over here. So these positioning makes sense. But when it comes to this field, you can put anything, I guess, above and below. I guess there is much less restriction on that. Otherwise, RAP is a very restricted language. It has very much amount of check. And why is that? Because as you can see, like we used to have in JavaScript, use strict, then manage as well, it follow the strict syntaxes. That's why there is something called strict on the top. If you remove strict, you will be, I guess you can avoid certain things, but that's not a future proof. When you say strict, it means whatever development you are doing, if you are getting any warning on error, if you are resolving this in future, also your service will be intact. After any sort of upgrade, your development won't get hampered. Your service will still be running. That's the meaning of a strict. Okay. So now, for example, I want to make certain fields read only. I want to make certain fields mandatory. So for example, I want to make field read only. So what is that field that I want to make read only? So for example, the I'll just go over here and I'll just say field, and here I'll just say I want to make certain field. I'll just put in a bracket. As you can see, if I just say control space, okay, there is something called read only. Maybe I guess it's taking some time in order for us to provide the suggestion. Now, in this particular one, if you just go over here, then what all fields I don't want to get changed. So for example, created by, created at, and all these things are something that should not be editable on my UI, right? So if you want a gray out field on your UI, you can specify read only. So I'll just provide this 4 fields, and I'll just simply say that no, this 4 fields, no one should be able to edit on my UI. Okay, I'll just go over here, copy this, and this will get the value only via the semantics. Okay, I'll just go over here and just arrange them properly a bit. Okay, now there can be certain things which you feel that these are the things that I anyway need. I cannot have any fields, any booking without this, any travel without this. So for that, there is something called field and there is something called mandatory. Okay, you can provide such a field which will decide, okay, what all things should be there, which should be there. Okay, no one should be able to, okay, get rid of it. So I will say that in my travel, the customer ID, booking date, and end date, for example, this is something that I want, or let's just say agency ID as well. So let's just make that these fields are mandatory. So I'll just copy this, go over here and just paste it over here. So this fields will get asterisk sign, but one thing to note down over here, what will be the output behavior in this case? Okay. So the moment you specify a read only going forward on your UI, even if you do have editable mode of the object page, you will see that these fields will be grayed out. The moment you specify mandatory, you will see a star, a strict icon. Like you, whenever you are filling a form on online, you will see that there is something called star asterisk icon. The same will be there in case you specify mandatory. But read only does not allow you to specify any values, but mandatory still allows you to get rid of specifying those values. It just specifies the asterisk sign. It does not have any built-in validation to check whether you are passing this field or not. And for that, we have to specify n number of validation. That's something we'll be seeing maybe in some time. Okay. So now, as you can see, I do have this. And now for the rest of the things as well, we have to provide the mapping because I'm not sure like if my user is passing some information in a begin date, where should that information be flowing? I don't know, right? Because I don't have that information specified. And that's the reason what you will be doing is you will be specifying mapping for each and every field you do have. So here I'll just simply go and specify that I do have a travel ID and likewise I do have this information as well and I want to specify the mapping for that. Okay, so that will be my another activity. So as you can see here, we are just preparing the skeleton. Here we are not writing any sort of ABAP logic till now. So this should be agency ID. Here I have to specify customer ID because the names are differing. If the names are same, okay. So for few fields, for example, if the name is same as that of the database table, then you don't need a mapping. If the names are differing, then you will need the mapping. That's the meaning of a mapping. Any questions at any point in time, feel free to unmute. Okay, I feel that, okay, this will be a vast topic, definitely, because this is I can say bit new, I guess. This is just coming into the market. That's the reason. Any doubts for, I guess, anyone is having, feel free to unmute.
Not as of now, Sumit.
No worries. No worries. Okay, so this is for the travel and now we'll do it for the booking. Okay, so we need the booking view as well, which is over here. Okay, so I'll just copy this information directly from here and I'll just go back and just specify this information. So I guess we had a couple of things already specified, so I'll just avoid those. I'll just remove this. Okay, I'll just format this and I'll just activate this. So this was my behavior definition. We'll see how it will behave like when we are saying transactional processing, what all role it will play. Okay, but for now, let's just say this is my behavior definition. Now comes the role of behavior projection. But before going over there, let's just see that we generated a behavior definition. Is there any impact on the, I can say, service, or I can say, is there any service transactional behavior that those are already being exposed using this? So I'll just go over here. travel. Let's just preview this. Okay, so but still, as you can see, I don't have any such functionality still available. I am still able to only view the data. I don't have any design which I have not placed anyway, and I don't have any sort of edit icon also available. So that's not there. Okay. So I'll just go over here, just close this, and I'll just go back and we'll see the behavior projection. So here we right click on the behavior definition, we generated the behavior definition. I mean, right click on the RV, we generated behavior definition. Now let's just go over here. Just right click on this and just say new behavior. Let's see what it is trying to show us. So as you can see, it's called behavior definition, but the moment you have a projection view, it will suggest that you want to have a projection view. There is something called interface like a class and interface relationship, same way. So we'll learn about that, I guess, in future. But as of now, let's just say we want to have a behavior projection. So what all things you want to project when it comes to the capability of it? Okay, that's the meaning of a behavior projection. So I'll just go next over here. Okay, and I'll just say finish. Okay, now as you can see, the moment we specified this, system inherited certain thing. Okay, it inherited that you are having a create, update, delete relationship, you are having an association. So there is a keyword called use. So if I just compare this to information, I'll just go over here. That this is my behavior definition, which says that I do have a what all capability I do have and all the things. But there is specific keyword in the projection which says use. So whatever capability you are allowing to use, those capability will be provided to the exposed service, because what you are exposing C view. So whatever is there will get exposed. So again, let's just provide a same alias over here. Now let's just provide a okay. So you are saying that I want to have a create, update, delete functionality, and I want to have a capability of booking creation when we are going with a, I can say, travel creation. Okay, so via the travel booking can be created, but via the booking travel cannot be created. So I'll just activate this. So this is my projection. So here, anything and everything that you are specifying. So for example, here we had only create, update, delete. That's why you are able to see that. For example, if I'm just saying that I don't want to have update functionality, then you will start getting an error that your base view, or I can say your behavior definition, does not have update capability, so you cannot have it. For example, I am generating a custom action over here saying cancel booking. Okay, I can have an action also created. We'll be creating it. So the moment you are saying cancel booking, it won't be by default available over here. For you to actually use those action, you have to specify with the use keyword. The moment you say use, your behavior or your service will start getting those capability. So I just activated that, and now I'll just go back over here, and now let's just refresh this. Many a time it takes some time in order for it to get reflected.